Hello, in this tutorial we will cover assets basics. In Unity, assets refer to all the elements that you use to create your game or application. This includes everything from 3D models, textures, audio files, scripts, animations, and more. Assets can be created within Unity itself, imported from external sources like modeling software, or downloaded from the Unity Assets Store. In this tutorial, as an example, we will download InkPainter asset from Unity Asset Store. Before that, we need to create an empty Unity project. I have already created one. As we see here, assets folders only include a sample scene here, which is part of empty Unity project. But if we imported some assets, we will see them under this assets folder. We usually use Unity Asset Store. If you want to download some assets, we can reach it within in Unity interface by clicking Window and then Asset Store, and this opens this Asset Store subsection here. We can make online search here that we want to import some assets or download some assets. This section opens package manager, and we can see our downloaded assets there. So now let's start to search InkPainter assets. Now let's write InkPainter here. The InkPainter asset is here. This asset is free to use, but it comes with EULA agreement, so it means that we cannot use it commercially, or we cannot distribute it. So now let's click to this blue button, add to my assets. To download assets from Unity Asset Store, we need a user account. So I will use my account and will enter my necessary information. So now this blue button turned to open in Unity. Now we click it. It opens this package manager. Now we see our InkPainter assets here. If you firstly download this asset, you will see this re-download button as a download here. So if we click it to download, now it's downloading, yeah. And then after that, we will import this asset by clicking import button here. This will take a little bit of time. Then we should click import again here. Now we have to wait for to package manager for importing the assets. After this process, now we can close this. Our asset, InkPainter asset, was imported, and we can see our InkPainter asset under the assets folder here. Now it's ready to use. Now we will search and download a free asset pack containing planets using Unity's package manager. So now again, we will go for search online. Now we will write the name of the asset, for example, planets of the solar system. It is here. If we click this asset, Then again we click this button to add this asset to our asset list. Same step again. So again we click this open in Unity, and we will open this asset in package manager. Yeah, now we see the assets here, planets of the solar system 3D. And if we click download button again, if you haven't downloaded this before, you will see this button as only download. So now re-download, I will click re-download. Now it will download the asset pack. Yeah, now if I click import, it will import the asset, and I will see the assets here. This will take a little bit time. Yeah, we import this one. Yes, now we can see our the planets asset pack here. Now we can close this window and go to scene section. Maybe it's better to investigate a little bit the assets folder. For example, we can inspect in Painter assets pack and can see what folders it includes. However, we should remember the organization of assets within the assets folder may vary depending on the project structure and the preferences of the developers. If you click Ink Painter asset pack, we see resources here. The resources folder usually containing assets that we want to load dynamically at the runtime using, for example, load method, making it useful for dynamic content management. There's another resource folder here. This includes a material and texture. The material folder includes materials that define the appearance of 3D models, including shaders and textures. In the texture file, it includes image files used for 2D graphics or as texture for 3D models. We see some scenes here. Here the Unity scenes are in individual levels or environments within in our project. The scenes subfolder typically contains all the scene files with the .unity extension. So these scenes that make up our project. In the script folder, this subfolder contains all the C# scripts used in the project. These scripts define the behavior and the functionality of our game objects and the systems. The shader here, shader files define how materials are rendered in the game. They can control things like lighting, reflections, and special effects. Beside that, subfolders, we commonly see two more subfolders here. One of them is prefabs, another one is editor. So prefabs are reusable game object or collections of the game objects saved as single assets. So we can create prefabs. For example, we can create here and store it. Like, let's say, create folder. In the future, we can create our prefabs and store it here. Yeah. So there should be, for most of the project, there's an editor file here. The editor subfolder contains scripts and assets specifically designed to enhance the Unity editor's functionality. These scripts can automate tasks, create custom inspectors, or extend editor features. Now let's create a game object in the scene. For this, we can use hierarchy and right click there and 3D object. Then let's create a sphere in the scene. Let's change its position. To change its scale, we can simply use R hotkey. Then pressing the center gizmo and dragging the mouse like this, we can change its scale, or we can use this option here. Then again, doing the same thing by clicking the center, we can change its style simply dragging the mouse. Now let's include another asset, but this time 3D asset to the scene. For this purpose, we will use now our asset pack that we already downloaded. It is a Planets asset pack. Let's go to the geometry and select this Earth 3D model. Then simply drag and drop to the scene, and we can include it in the scene. So this is Earth.fbx file. FBX file usually consists of the geometry and materials and textures, and this FBX file usually is created using different programs like Blender, Maya, and we usually use this FBX file to store 3D models. As a next aim, we will change the texture of these game objects. In Unity, textures and materials are both used to define the appearance of 3D objects, but they serve different purposes and work together to achieve the desired visual effect. A texture is a 3D image file used to add detail to the surface of a 3D object. Textures can represent various types of surface details such as color, patterns, or surface imperfections. Textures are typically image files such as PNG or JPG, etc. A material in Unity is an asset that combines one or more textures with shader properties to define how the surface of a 3D object interacts with light and how it appears in the scene. Materials are assigned to the mesh renders of 3D objects. Multiple materials can be used on different parts of the same object. So now let's change this game object's material. So for this purpose we use element the mesh render section and element here, element 0. Now let's select the material here, and for example this one we can change it like this, or let's change it to Jupiter, or this one. As additional information, what means element 0 here. Element 0 refers to the first material in the materials array. This material is applied to the first submeshes of the model. If the model has only one submesh, then element 0 is the material for the entire mesh. If the model has multiple meshes, element 0 is the material for the first submesh, element 1 for the second submesh, and so on. So in our case, actually there is only one submesh, so that's why we see only element 0 here. We can also change the material by simply drag and drop here again. Let's go to sample, materials, like this. As we see here, the materials always with the file extension with mat. So the user can create their own material file, but by using some specific software, or one can download this materials from a Unity Asset Store, for example. Now let's change this object's texture. Let's drag and drop again. As we see here, usually the texture is a different with a different extension. In this case, in our we use a PNG extension texture file. But of course, we can use different image formats as a texture also in our scene. Now let's change this Earth game objects material, then its texture. Let's make this. Let's use another material from another planet. Let's implement Jupiter here, and then let's go to the planets, our planets asset pack. Then let's choose textures. As we see, many textures here with again with the PNG extension. Let's use Mercury here, or let's use Mars texture, or Pluton. Yeah. This one, yeah. We can also create our own PNG file and use it as a texture. For this purpose, I created a PNG file. I created from our first slide of our tutorial, the opening page. It is here. Let's we can simply put this PNG texture file here. Now it's importing. We can again simply drag and drop to the game object, and we can change its texture. As we see, the texture has changed. We can use any PNG file as a texture and use it in our Unity projects. We can also change the texture of a game object using a script. So for example, we can change using script, we can change this game object's texture. To change the texture of this game object, we add a script as a component to this game object. So we can click here. We can search the name of our script we will use for this purpose. Change texture. Now the script was added as a component to our game object. Now let's run the project, and we will see the texture of this game object will change immediately. Now we see the texture of this sphere object was changed by a script. There is another way to attach the script to the game object. We can simply use again drag and drop method for this purpose. Firstly, let's remove this script, the component. Remove component, and let's find our code. It should be in scripts here, change texture, and now we simply drag and drop here, and as we see it attached to the game object. Let's run again the project. As we see here, the color of the texture of the game object has changed. So now if you want to have a look to our script, we can double click here, then it opens with the Visual Studio. Our code start with the mono behavior class, then with start function. Firstly we just start with the path of the PNG file. Then it goes to the load texture function here. It loads the PNG file it reads all bytes from the PNG file, and it assign this bytes to the 2D texture object. Then if load is successful, it returns the texture. Otherwise, it shows an error message. Then with using get component and renderer, and it changed the main texture of the game object. Now let's change the texture of the game objects using Ink Painter asset pack. So now in Ink Painter asset pack there are some scripts that I already attached to the game object. So by using brush color, we can change this one, and if we run the game, the color of this game object will change. So now let's run the game. We see now it turned to the purple. Now we can, using the cursor, we can change the texture like this plain game object. And let's change this one with different color and different texture. This one. And if we stop running the game, this changes all will disappear and will not be saved, because in the live mode, if you make some changes on the game object, it cannot be saved, and it will be destroyed if we stop the game. Let's do it. Yeah, now we see the all changes gone. It was destroyed when we stopped this game running. For the game objects, we can also construct a parent-child hierarchy here. For example, to show it, let's create another 3D object sphere here. Let's change its material again. It's Mercury. If we drag and drop this, for example, this game object under this sphere 2, so now it became the child of this sphere 2. So now sphere 2 is a parent and sphere 3 is a child here, so it's parent and child mechanism. So now let's move this game object. We see here it moves together. Let's rotate it. Rotate together also. This will be very useful for the future. If we create prefabs, we can deploy our parent-child hierarchy to another scene, and we can use them, and we can instantiate many of them, and we can update them at the same time. Now let's create a prefab using this parent-child game objects. Also, I want to show you the code attached to this hierarchy will not destroy with the prefab. So firstly, let's attach a script to this game object. We attach this script to the parent game object. Now it's easy to create prefab in Unity. You can simply drag and drop here, but let's choose appropriate folder. Choose prefabs. Now we can select this one and drop here. Now it's creating the prefab. Now it created a prefab. As we see here, also it turned to the blue, which means that this hierarchy has a prefab. And now let's check the prefab. Now we see here it has a prefab extension here. These prefabs are very useful in Unity projects. We can use them in many different projects or different scenes, and it allows us to manipulate the game's object with their, for example, with their clones. I mean, we can instantiate many of them and update them at the same time. Now let's change the scene to a different scene, and we will use this prefab there. Let's choose another scene here. Let's choose, for example, this one. And let's go to our prefab and drag and drop again here. Now, as you see, we can use our game object here without destroying the hierarchy. Let's check. We already attached a script to this game object here. Yes, we can see it here. The change texture object script still attached to this parent game object. In Unity, the hierarchy window represents the scene graph. Each game object is a node, and parent-child relationship define the graph structure. And like we have learned in the ICG course, affine transformations manipulate the object in the space, and the transformation applied to parent objects propagate to their children, maintaining the relative spatial configuration. Like, for example, if you rotate, we see the child also depended to the parent game object rotationally. We can instantiate many prefabs in the scene like this. We drag and drop here, and if you want to change or manipulate these game object which comes from prefab, it will automatically synchronously update other ones also. Let's change the material of the prefab with different one. As we see here, the parent-child changed. Parent game object material of the game object changed. And let's change its the scale here. As we see, it's changing all game object synchronously.